Today we're diving into a controversial topic that has been making waves in the personal finance community, and that is the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early. While it has its fair share of supporters, there's no denying that it has attracted a lot of criticism as well. So why does everyone hate the FIRE movement? I'll explore the reasons in this episode. But before I get started, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more insightful finance content. For those who may not be familiar with the term, the FIRE movement is a lifestyle approach that advocates for extreme savings, frugal living, and smart investing to achieve financial independence and, retire early, often in your 30s or 40s, sometimes even in their 20s. The desire to quit your job and escape the rat race is nothing new, but the FIRE movement as we know it today can trace its origin back to a 1992 book called Your Money or Your Life. Although the book didn't do that well initially, the rise of the internet helped spread its message. Blogs like Early Retirement Extreme and Financial Samurai ignited interest in the concept, but it was really Mr. Money Mustache who provided the catalyst for turning this idea into a roaring wildfire. As more and more people became captivated by the prospects of financial freedom and quitting their jobs. Before diving into the criticism of the FIRE movement, it's important to understand its core principles. Achieving FIRE is based on some straightforward math. First, you need to determine how much you want to live off each year. Then you multiply that number by 25 or 33 to find your FIRE number. And that's the total amount of money that you need invested before you can retire. This money is typically invested in the stock market, but it could also be invested in other investments. In the first year of FIRE, you would withdraw 4% of the value of your portfolio. And after that, you would withdraw the same amount of money, but adjusted for inflation each year. This is known as the 4% asset withdrawal method. And the range between the 25 and 33, that factor depends on your risk appetite and also the comfort level that you want to have at retirement. The FIRE community suggests that since the stock market has historically achieved an average long-term return of around 9%, investing your FIRE funds in low-cost index fund like the S&P 500 should in theory make your money last indefinitely as long as you withdraw 4% per year. So reaching your FIRE number then depends on how quickly you can save 25 times of your annual expenses, which is why the movement is often associated with extreme frugality. And by extreme frugality, I mean extreme. I've seen examples of people that were saving their cooked pasta water in order to not incur additional water cost and also the cost of heating that water. Now, that's extreme. The FIRE movement, which encourages frugality, debt elimination, saving, and investing to achieve financial freedom, seems harmless. So why is there so much negativity around it? And the criticism can be divided into two main categories: issues with the math behind FIRE and the criticism against the movement itself. So let's start with the math. One of the key foundations of the FIRE movement is the idea that you can build a pot of cash and draw 4% from it every year, and it will theoretically last you forever. FIRE practitioners often quote the Trinity study as their source of truth. However, the 4% rule actually originated from William Bengen's research. It was published in 1994 in the Journal of Financial Planning. Bengens came up with a 4% withdrawal by assuming that the portfolio would need to stay afloat for 30 years in order to outlive the retiree. It was never designed to be used for a 30-year-old who will most likely live longer than 30 years, especially with the medical advancements since 1994. The issue is that Bengen's work has been misquoted and misused as hard and fast rule, which is problematic. For example, because Bengen's research was based on the worst market conditions at the time, some people suggested that the actual average safe withdrawal rate is likely closer to 7% per year. But there's a great website called the 4% Rule, where you can run your own scenario, and it can run a simulation on all the historical stock market scenarios and come up with the probability of running out of money. So if you retire at 45, with $2.5 million, and you plan on living on that money until 30 years later, 75 years old, there is still a 25% chance that you will run out of money by then. The real problem is the belief that the 4% withdrawal rate will make your funds last forever. Megan's study was designed to make the funds last for 30 years, not indefinitely. Now that we've addressed the math, let's discuss the criticism against the FIRE movement itself. First of all, let's address the elephant in the room by saying that the FIRE movement and those who talk about it are big business, like Mr. Money Mustache and Early Retirement Extreme. They operate blogs and they're pulling millions of views a month. While they might have got the position that they're in by being frugal at first, I can guarantee you that they're making millions now from talking about FIRE itself. The other criticism I see is the fact that the FIRE movement promotes extreme frugality at the expense of people's happiness. Critics argue that the extreme frugality and high savings rate required to achieve FIRE are not sustainable for the majority of people. This can lead to disappointment and disillusionment when followers of the movement realize they cannot meet their financial goals within the desired time frame. For some people, being frugal is fun, and they might enjoy and get a kick out of cutting back, trying to save here and there. If that's your thing, well, that's fine. Some of the proponents of extreme frugality are living on 25% of their income and saving the rest. They're basically signing up to live as they do now for the rest of their lives. People are not valuing their time enough. Walking to and from work, meal prepping, and all the planning to save a few pennies here and there take a lot of time that could be used to improving your income instead. Let's just run a quick example. Let's say John and his wife are 45 years old. The income that they need to retire on is $70,000, which is the median household income in the US. So their FIRE number would be $1.8 million. So let's say they began on their journey 20 years ago when they were only 25 years old. That means they would have had to save about $5,000 a month for 20 years, assuming that they invested that amount at 4% consistently every year. The average saving rates in the US, by the way, is only 9%. But let's say our couple, they save 25% of their income. And that means that their income has to be $250,000 a year to achieve that. Just take a moment to imagine your lifestyle when you're making $250,000 a year, starting at age 25 all the way to 45. And then you decide to retire at $70,000 a year. I think that would be a shock for everyone, certainly most people. Which brings me to the next criticism of the FIRE movement, is that it often overlooks the role of privilege and socioeconomic inequality. Many of the most prominent proponents come from relatively affluent backgrounds with access to high-paying jobs, inheritances, and other forms of financial support. Critics argue that the FIRE movement's success stories often don't represent the experiences of those who are less fortunate and face significant financial barriers. This makes the movement seem elitist and out of touch with the realities faced by most of the people in the United States and around the world. And lastly, critics argue that the FIRE movement downplays life's uncertainties and the importance of financial flexibility. By focusing on a rigid 4% withdrawal rate and a fixed retirement number, the movement may not adequately prepare its followers for unexpected life events such as medical emergencies, economic downturns, the stock market going down, or changes in personal circumstances. Financial flexibility and adaptability are crucial to long-term financial success, and critics argue that the FIRE movement's narrow focus on early retirement might leave its followers vulnerable to unforeseen challenges. The financial independence retire early movement has certainly sparked a lot of debate and has attracted a wide range of opinions. While the core principles of frugality, saving, and investing are undoubtedly valuable, it's essential to consider the criticism and potential pitfalls associated with the movement. In the end, financial success and stability should be based on balanced, adaptable approach tailored to your individual needs and circumstances. I hope you found this video helpful and entertaining, and thank you for joining me today. If you found this video informative, Please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more insightful finance content. I'll see you next week.